Welcome to What's Up Wichita. We're here with Mayor Brandon Whipple. Mayor Whipple is here to answer your questions live. Click on the Zoom link in the Facebook post to ask your question live. You can also submit a written question in the Facebook Live feed chat and he will answer those as well. Now, here's Mayor Whipple.
Hey Wichita, this is your Mayor Brandon Whipple. Welcome to this month's episode of What's Up Wichita. We got a special guest with us. This is our new police chief, Chief Sullivan, who just started here this month officially. I know you've been here for a little bit, and we've got a lot of questions. Just folks wanting to get to know you, so I first want to thank you for being on the show. But before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about the chief. He comes to us by way of Philadelphia, which is a definitely comparable city to Wichita. I think Wichita is the Philadelphia of Kansas, right? And Chief Sullivan previously worked for the Philadelphia Police Department for more than 25 years and at a public safety technology company. He also oversaw over 4,000 police officers during his time with the Philadelphia Police Department. Chief Sullivan holds a bachelor's degree from Penn State University in Administration of Justice and a master's degree in Public Safety from St. Joseph's University, and is a graduate of the FBI National Academy. And I would just start with first, we're so happy you're here, by the way. It's great to bring someone with your knowledge and your experience into our city. We are looking forward to really trying to create the safest Wichita possible. And it's great to have someone from a city like Philadelphia that I'm sure presents its own challenges, and bringing that experience to a city like Wichita. Hopefully you won't be encountered with anything you haven't seen already, so we're glad.
And I'm glad to be here. I'm just thrilled to be here. This is just a beautiful city, and the people are just as beautiful. Everyone here is so friendly, so helpful. I mean, it's when you come into a new city, it's great that you can ask a stranger a question and they're going to go out of their way to help you. So it's been an amazing experience so far.
And we get some of that from folks from the Northeast or from the East Coast or bigger cities. Wichita is interesting because it feels like we're a big enough city where you can, whatever you're looking for, if it's art, if it's any type of entertainment, if it's nice coffee shops, good universities, we have all that as a bigger city, a top 50 city, but we still have that kind of small town feel where a lot of folks, that Midwestern hospitality is there, that culture of helping others. So it's good to hear that you've experienced that as well, and hopefully that's made a little bit of the transition a little easier.
I've only been here a few weeks, and I'm always amazed about how many people just say hello to me and they recognize me. And I've said that to many of my friends, that it's a big city with a small town feel, and it's really I really appreciate how many people have just come up and welcomed me to the city.
Awesome. Well, we're glad you're here, and just got to jump right into it. First, just we reflect a little bit on the city, but I guess just being in City Hall and meeting the officers, meeting the staff. What's your I guess thoughts right now on how the transition's going?
Well, I think it's going really well. I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people in the community. Hundreds of officers of various ranks and assignments, and it's helping me to really get a sense of what we're doing really well, so I can continue that and improve upon it, and what we can do better, or what we should look outside the department for ideas, and bring them to Wichita. So I think it's coming together.
Excellent. Well, what folks have asked, and I don't. People will ask, and I'm going to ask you this question of what is your policing philosophy? I think that there's probably a technical way to answer that, someone with your experience in education. I'm sure there's much more of a academic way to answer exactly what a policing philosophy is. But just a roundabout way, what would you say, how would you describe your philosophy as policing, just as more of a generalized statement?
Collaborative. I want everyone's input. I want to hear what everyone has to say, and that's why I've accepted every opportunity that I've been given so far to go out to community events and just let people tell me what they think I can do to make Wichita a safer city, to make the Wichita Police Department better, and to build better relationships between the department and the community, because that's really the basis of everything. If you don't have community trust, if you don't have the community that is behind you and believes that you can and want to make their community safer, you're not going to be able to do it.
Exactly. And Chief, we talked about your background and also your education. Your formal education is really complements the job of a police officer. And I hope you don't mind me just asking, what attracted you to public service as a police officer?
I think growing up, my father was the HR director for the police department, and he used to take me to work a lot. And just even being out with him in the mall, police officers would constantly stop him, and they would need help with something or advice, and he was always willing to give it to them. And I think that just influenced me early on because I always knew what I wanted to do, and that's why I entered policing so young.
So your dad was in a position in which you got to interact with police officers growing up and idolize probably folks who are serving the community in that way, and you knew from a young age you wanted to be a police officer.
I did.
All right. What would happen if you told your dad you're looking at being a firefighter? Would have been any...
Well, everybody else, my family was a firefighter,
oh, no
so
way.
I woke up and took the other test. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Is it weird on Thanksgiving?
No. I mean, it's something that's great in Philadelphia, and it seems to be the same here in Philadelphia. The police and fire department are like, it's definitely one team and one mission. And,
absolutely.
So it's glad to see it's the same here.
Yeah, it's kind of fun hanging out with the guys or the firefighters and the police. They have friendly competitions, and
exactly.
A lot of times it's a competition that actually raises money for a charity. Or right now we have a blood drive, Battle of the Badges, where we're encouraging folks to go donate blood at the Red Cross and vote for fire or for police. So the camaraderie is definitely there. So let's chat just a little bit about I guess your vision for our police department. And I know you haven't been here too long, but really, what are some of the changes that you might think that you might pursue?
I'm looking at the deployment, especially at night and on the weekends when the most crimes occur. And I'm looking to see how that's done. I'm concerned about response times as the community is, and that's been brought to my attention many times. So we have to improve response times. There's no two ways about it. And one of the ways you do that is by putting most officers, making sure they're on duty, on patrol at the times when we have the peak number of radio calls, and also when we're having the most violent crime. So we're conducting that study right now. And I'm looking at supervision. I want to make sure that we have sufficient supervision out there to ensure that we're providing the service we should, and we're holding our officers accountable to do that. I'm looking at training opportunities. Right now, we definitely have to improve in training and offering professional development, pre-promotional training for officers when they achieve a new rank. You have to prepare them for that rank, and you have to make sure that you have that professional development training along the way, leadership training for one thing. There's a lot more we can do there. We're also going to look at ICAT training to enhance the de-escalation policies and training that we're giving now. ICAT is an evidence-based de-escalation training that's been adopted by many large departments nationwide, and it's put on by the Police Executive Research Forum. So that's something we're definitely going to look at. The FBI's coming in January to give color of law and hate crimes training to the entire department. I think that's a great opportunity, and I'm not taking credit for that. Our training bureau secured that long before my arrival. So I'm glad to see that we are proactively reaching out for different types of training. We're going to increase cultural awareness training for officers in the academy. I want to make sure that members representing the entire diverse community of Wichita are able to come to the academy and speak to the recruits to make the recruits understand what makes their specific neighborhood special. What do they value, and what is their culture? And at some point, take the recruits out there and then do walking tours of the various neighborhoods that make up Wichita. And while we're on those walking tours, have members of the community speak to officers, because that's something that I found can be a problem, especially with younger officers. Sometimes they just don't. They're almost afraid to say hello, and we want to make sure that they know that engaging with the community, we consider that to be their job, and we encourage that. That's not lounging. That's creating those bonds is critical.
Well, and there's a few things that you mentioned that I think I can possibly dive a little deeper in. One, of course, is building those relationships. And you yourself mentioned that being around officers when you were younger actually inspired you to pursue a career in public service and in public safety. So having some opportunities to further that engagement, you never know if you're talking to someone who now might be a future recruit, might be serving because they had a positive experience.
Exactly.
That's
best recruiters are members of the department. And right now, manpower is a very serious issue. We're down officers. The department's doing everything it
That's a
can.
national trend right now. It seems like
Absolutely.
there's a lot of retirements and thinner classes that I think we've had in the past. And it's something that I like you coming in and talking about that, because frankly, it shows that we have more work to do, but it shows we identified a problem. And usually in my world, if you identify a problem, you're halfway towards getting a solution because you know exactly what we have to do. So as we look towards the future, let's talk a little bit about training, because I think retention is also an issue with across the country. So tell us about the importance of training, because that isn't, I think when we talk about training, we think about that customer service aspect, where when officers are trained better, and frankly, I do training as well as a elected, so I understand policy and communication and different skill sets. I think most professions do this, but it's not just that community service aspect. It actually helps officers as well. They become safer when they understand different environments. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of really lifting up some of that bar for training?
100%. Training is a never-ending process. You've never received enough training. And I don't care whether you're talking about policing or you're in the private sector. So it's a critically important issue. And to have that career development training, meaning that throughout your entire career you have the opportunity to increase your skills, to learn more, to explore different parts of policing, that makes the department more attractive to potential recruits. And to a more diverse pool of potential recruits. So we want to make sure that the community understands that the department is a great place you can come to have a career. Maybe you want to be the police chief, or maybe that's not your interest. Maybe you want to be a homicide detective. There are so many different career paths in policing and in the Wichita Police Department that we want people to understand that you're not going to join the police department and you'll be pushing a car your entire career. And I think that's, with some of the officers that are in the department now, I think that's the perception they have. And we're going to make sure that we change that, and they know that everyone's going to have an opportunity in this department to take advantage of training opportunities, of transfer opportunities, that promotional opportunities. We want to make it an exciting place to work, because, as I said, our best recruiters are our officers. So if they don't feel good about the agency, then we're going to lose out on a lot of potential recruits. And we just, as you said, we can't afford to do that, because the competition is just so great right now. And we have other departments surrounding Wichita that are pulling our recruits. And so we want to make sure people that are thinking about a career in law enforcement say, hey, I want to go to Wichita. There's where I want to be a cop.
Well, and that's my goal as mayors. I think we should have we should be where folks want to retire throughout Kansas. We should be that department that people want to transfer into, that want to be a part of, because that's going to give us the pool of the best, the brightest, and the people who do, for you as chief, you could actually hopefully have an opportunity to do some talent searching as well. Now, and that's trying to pull folks with experience, but on the other end, you mentioned this a little bit about those folks who might just be thinking about or toying with the idea of pursuing a job in our police department. And when I talk to young people about this, I hear they think they have to major in criminal justice, or they pretty much, there's this idea that you had to know that you want to be a police officer right out of high school. And can you talk a little bit about the type of people in your experience who would make good police officers, and also what it takes to get into the academy?
Well, to get into the academy, you have to be physically fit, reasonably. You don't have to be a marathoner, but you have to be reasonably physically fit. You can't have any serious criminal record.
Right.
nobody expects you to be an angel. I don't think any of us fit into that category. In fact, it's good to have some lived experience. Basically, that's the majority of it. And as far as background goes, no, you don't have to have a degree in criminal justice or have studied criminal justice. It's actually good to bring people in from varied backgrounds and who have studied other topics. But in terms of individual skills, communication is key. If you should be someone who likes to engage with others, and you have to be someone who's open to the diverse culture of other people and accepting of that. You have to be patient. You have to be willing to engage with people that are in difficult circumstances. And that's the job. When people are in mental health crisis, you have to be the person that calms that situation down and have the patience and the communication skills to do that. But in your day-to-day operations, it's just that you have to be willing to engage with people in a respectful and a professional way and understand that, for many people, even a minor auto accident, is a very stressful situation, and you have to understand that. But you're going to enter into more serious situations like domestic violence and things of that nature, and you have to be that calming force, and you have to be that person that's willing to enforce the law, and we enforce it evenly and fairly in every encounter that you have with members of the community.
One of the things I respect most about our not just our officers, but police officers in general, is a lot of times when you show up on a scene, you're talking with folks who might be experiencing the worst day they've ever had. And I can't imagine how tough that is on the individual officer who, regardless of training, we're still human. So I bet there's a lot to unpack in some of those situations. And it gets back to making sure you have experienced officers on the force and people who can help through those situations, and then afterwards, I assume.
Yeah, and it speaks to one of my major goals for the coming year is to really begin to build a solid officer wellness program, because you hit the nail on the head perfectly. We have to make sure that when officers are dealing with those type of situations, that they have the ability to kind of fall back and have someone they can talk to.
And take care of themselves.
Yeah. And we don't have a robust program like that right now. We got a pretty good app, but we need something more than that. And I was just talking to an officer about that last night. And this is what I love. The officer started this conversation with me, and he asked if we could talk more about the officer wellness program. He's got a specific interest and passion for it, and I told him absolutely. And there's so much talent within this department, and that's what I'm learning, and identifying it all and putting that talent in action and putting those people in the places they need to be to execute that talent is really what my job is. It's like an orchestra, and I'm the conductor.
Right.
And but we have some very talented musicians in this department, and I just want to get them all playing together.
And that's so great to hear, because I'm assuming that over this last year, where we've had interim police chiefs, now having someone who's going to be a more permanent figure, it's great to hear that there's people who, hey, I've had this idea, and you're able to empower them to move forward with a good idea that would better the organization in general.
Absolutely. I'm not rank oriented. Rank is not an indication of talent or intelligence or good ideas.
Yeah, I worked in the legislature. I know.
Yes, and many people in my career have never aspired to be a boss. They're very comfortable with who they are, and they enjoy being on the street, being police officers. But that doesn't mean that they don't have very special talents that they want to share with the community and their fellow officers. And I want to make sure that I recognize those officers, identify them, and I give them the opportunity to do just that. That's the part of the job that I really enjoy.
So, on the topic of the parts of your job that you really enjoy, what would you say is one of the most rewarding aspects of being a police officer? Because I think that, and I don't mean to say it this way, but a lot of times when you're watching police shows or documentaries, you usually see in the heat of a moment, it doesn't really it looks stressful, and there's a high level of stress in this job, of course. So let's shift gears. Talk about some of the stuff that makes this a really rewarding experience that people might not get from the media.
Yeah, I mean, one of my areas of specialties is special weapons and tactics, and I know the satisfaction that I always got from that was, you arrive at a completely seems like a hopeless situation, and patrol officers have called for you because they're not quite sure what to do next, and you just very systematically begin to identify the steps that you need to take next and what specialists you need on scene, and you're doing this in a collaborative way. You have your team around you of negotiators and tactical experts and mental health experts, and then when it's finally resolved, and I've been on these type of assignments for as much as 21 hours straight, but at the end, when you get that person out unharmed, or you just used a very minimal amount of force to do that, there's no greater satisfaction. On top of that, it's just great when you hear from people that you've engaged with, and they've come back to tell you that that your action, your intervention in their lives has really changed the course or the direction of their life, and that you've enabled them to go on to in a positive direction and have a positive outcome. I mean, that just feels great. And there's not too many other professions that can really give you the opportunity for someone to say that you saved my life or you changed the trajectory of my life in a positive way. I wouldn't be here. And that's why I love the like ICT-1. The multi-disciplinary teams that I think that's such a great development in policing that we have teams like that, because that would be one of the difficult parts of policing. Often, we put officers in a position where we expect them to handle very complex assignments that involves a discipline like mental health that they have no training in, and then when we have a bad result, we criticize them.
Well, right. Like I feel, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I feel like officers, you all are very similar to almost teachers, where the role is no longer just teaching the subject, it's a bunch of other things as well. And officers also, sadly, in some areas, they're the number one response to a mental health crisis. It's not mental health professionals. It's usually officers who are trained to be police officers showing up where a mental health expert should be there. And luckily, as a city, a top 50 city, we're trying to move in a direction to give officers the tools that they need in certain situations, so they can handle those situations with the team. And so, I find it just interesting, because you're right, where we expect more out of our officers, but sadly, some cities, we haven't given them those more resources that they need. But luckily here in Wichita, we are, the Chief Moore, or Interim Chief Moore, requested in this last budget for, I think it might be 7 to 10 social workers, master level social workers who would be able to come into the police department. Before then, we actually worked with some of our local universities to create, we would call them internships, I think they call them practicums, to work alongside officers as well, and then it gives you all an opportunity to hopefully talent search and see, all right, who really likes this work, and to pull those folks into working for the city. Can you talk to us a little bit about having access to mental health professionals, how that's going to change practice moving forward?
Well, that's just it. To have that. Well, number one, we're moving in a really good direction, meaning that we are identifying the problem from multiple levels. We're working hard to make sure that every member eventually of the Wichita Police Department has CIT training. And that's what I call just enough training to do no harm. It doesn't make you a mental health professional, but it really trains an officer when they have a situation, that spontaneous situation with someone in mental health crisis, how not to make it worse, what not to say, what you should say, what you shouldn't say, and what resources to call for. And then we have the ICT-1 team, which we're expanding in the near future with teams similar teams that'll be available within the county, that'll be working from 8 a.m. to 3 a.m. Because right now that's the only criticism, is that they're not available enough. But we're addressing that problem. We also have a team, and the name escapes me. I'm learning all the
acronyms. Yes.
But we have a proactive team that is out there, people that are currently unhoused citizens that they seek them out during the day they understand their specific needs, whether it be mental health, whether it be the dependent.
Right. Our homeless outreach team does
and they're
amazing
trying to deal with any problems they may have before it requires a 911 call. So the city of Wichita is far ahead of most cities, and recognizes the fact that it still has a long way to go. So I'm really encouraged, and I'm really excited that I'm going to get to be a part of that.
What so far, and I know you haven't been here too long, but what's your favorite part of Wichita? Is it a restaurant? Is it a coffee shop? Or just something you've been able to get out there and see? And I know that you have just hit the ground running, so maybe you don't have a great answer yet, but
well, the AVI staff over at the brewery, I mean, they're amazing. That was home for a while. I'm in the Delano district now, so I mean, I've been to Yokohama for ramen. I've been to the Monarch.
Nice.
Mocha's in the morning, so I've been to Bite Me Barbecue, Picasso's Pizza.
Okay, no, I was wrong. You got out.
Yeah. Well, I finally, I'm in my apartment, so I've been relying on these places.
Right.
So that part has been really, really great. I mean, it's an amazing city culturally and entertainment-wise, and a lot of people that correct it back in Philadelphia, think that it's a country town, and I'm like, you're quite wrong. And,
right.
I'm so very impressed and just very excited to be here and make this home.
Well, very good. We're lucky to have you, and we're glad to have you, and we look forward to the accomplishments of this next year. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of What's Up Wichita. If you want to ask a question or even be on our next show, please send a question to social@wichita.gov, and you could even send us a video of you asking a question, and we will not only answer it, but post that video. Thanks again.